Hello, and welcome to the presentation of my final degree project, which consists of a benchmarking of the best corporate accelerator programs. So let's get right into it. What is an accelerator program? An accelerator program is a plan of action that supports mainly early or advanced stage ventures for fast and innovative development for a duration from 3 to 6 months, depending on the program. And help for growth may involve the provision of office spaces, of networking opportunities, of connection to mentors and experts for educational matters. Sometimes they might have optional funding and, of course, market access. Why did I decide to benchmark the best programs? So first of all, previous work by Hendrik Wowers and Ton Guardiet was undertaken last year on such programs' success factors. And also similar work of benchmarking on incubators this time had been undertaken by the European Centre for Strategy and Evaluation Services. So I found it interesting to combine these two studies made by, first of all, the Esade scholars, which are Hendrik Wowers. He used to be an MIM student here in Esade, and Professor Ton Guardiet, who is currently my thesis tutor, the director of my thesis. So combined these two studies to give a global picture of the best programs and the value proposition, because such work had never been undertaken. And so the objective of the research is to systematically identify, analyze, and compare the practices of the best corporate accelerator programs for insightful visualization. How did we do this? So first we collected that data within two phases. The first one was to construct an analytical framework with the analysis of previous work that had been undertaken. So the public database that was already made by Heinemann back in 2015, the work that had been undertaken by Hendrik Wowers, and also a report that was published by Imaginatic and Mass Challenged on startup and corporate collaboration back in 2016. And then once we had analyzed this framework, we tried to test it, and using primary source of data coming from all websites of the programs that we had identified as successful, and updating the former data that was quite old, in the sense that, for example, the public database of Heinemann was quite old and had to be updated. Some programs had disappeared, some programs had appeared, and it really needed to be updated. And so for selecting the best programs, we decided to retain either of these three criteria, which is an alumni survival rate of higher than 80%, and workforce increase of at least 50% since participation, and a minimum 5 years of existence. That would mean that as it has been reconducted, then it means that it was deemed successful by both its program holders and its participants. Regarding the results, I have decided to give a global vision, dividing the programs within 7 categories. So the first one would be the business and financial services, all these according to industries. The second would be digital services, the third one media, the fourth one retail and packaging, fifth one telecommunication, shipping and transportation, sixth one energy, food and beverages, and last but not least, healthcare, chemicals, and aeronautics. Regarding the criteria that were assessed and put in my database, were the accelerator and corporate names, the countries of operation, whether there was funding or not, and the amount of this funding, duration of such programs, and then the criteria that were taken for their participants, which are the development stage. Maybe there was a criteria based on technology that would be using, that the corporates would be interested in acknowledging in their innovation processes. Also, some programs targeted a specific industry and couldn't receive applications from candidates that were not operating in such industry for strategical matters. And also, location criteria was sometimes an important one when it came to being able to apply to such programs or not. And then the last column of my benchmarking, you'll see in the report, it's in the form of tables, was the resources provided by each program to their participants. Such benchmarking with all of these elements could really allow for a great picture. And I thought that classifying the programs with regards to their industry was the most relevant way of presenting them. These are all the companies that propose a corporate accelerator program that I deemed was successful accordingly to the criteria that we had previously determined during the methodology. So what I did in the discussion of my thesis was that, okay, I had done my research, and then now I wanted to compare the performance of the programs that I deemed were successful with the performance of the overall set of programs whose data was already collected and processed by others. I have described all of the sources of data I had used before, but it comes within this form. So for example, you can see that a higher proportion of successful corporate accelerator programs provide funding to their participants, comparing it to the overall set of corporate accelerator programs. This is how you should interpret this graphic, and it's for each, I did this for each resource provided by the programs. So due to the fact that corporate accelerators are relatively a new phenomenon, this study is the first one to quote the precise best programs globally and describe their practices. And this benchmarking comes really hand in hand with former research that had aggregated data and described phenomenon without systematically mentioning the corporates and their plans of actions. And I really wanted to undertake a really practical research to really give insightful visualization. This could definitely benefit some potential participants, or maybe corporations that would aspire to implement their programs themselves, or researchers, people involved in the academic field and interested in the field of acceleration. So the benchmarking that I did, and that you can, that I really encourage you to go see in the results section of my report, will really help you understand these 4 points. The first one is, who are the corporates holding such programs? I've shown you before the slide on all the corporates that held successful programs. So, and the tables that are in the report really well describe it. What program to refer to when doing business in which industry? So if you're a participant, you can see with regards to the tables which program suits better your profile with regards to industry and to the other criteria that I mentioned. Where they are implemented, and what resources the programs bring their participants, and what are the practices of such programs that you could maybe expect when participating to it. I thank you very much for your attention. I hope that you liked this presentation as well as the report that I submitted. I fully remain at your disposal if you have any further question. I'd be super happy to answer you. Thank you very much.